I had no idea the British press was so bigoted.
This one's wife. New York Post Meltdown. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. Before I get into the meat of this particular video, a reminder to ensure that you subscribe to my sister channel, Narcissism and Psychopathy with HG Tudor. Channel link is in the video description. Thank you to those of you who've already done so. Now, what's all this then? Well, it's long been suspected that this one's wife masquerades as somebody called guest speaker, and that she comments below the line on New York Post articles where she defends herself, if she is guest speaker, and regularly criticises the Prince and Princess of Wales. The individual who is guest speaker, if this is this one's wife, sometimes disappears and then reappears with considerable vitriol, and it has happened again. In relation to a particular article, there is another poster who evidently has got guest speaker's number and evidently suspects that it is this one's wife and seeks to rile that person. There are a number of exchanges. With the first one, guest Moonbump writes, Trevor Engelson and Prince Harry's starter wife. Criticism, threat to control, challenge, fuel. Since you're so incensed that someone else has your username, consider changing it to Duchess Difficult or Demon in High Heels. Now, this comment provides fuel to guest speaker, suspected this one's wife. But the fuel is rather weak. The reason being is guest Moonbump is a tertiary source, and because the fuel is provided in writing, the amount is pretty small. And the frequency is limited. Accordingly, in terms of fuel provision, it's not much use. What it does do, though, is challenge guest speaker / this one's wife by calling her names, such as Trevor Engelson and Prince Harry's starter wife, Duchess Difficult, Demon in High Heels. It only takes guest speaker to respond 2 minutes later with, "You seem upset," quoting gossip rags shows desperation. The response is calm. It doesn't appear to be one of being infuriated, but a response has been provided nevertheless. It wasn't ignored. Guest Moonbump responds, Trevor Engelson and Prince Harry's starter wife, insult, threat to control. You ought to know about the gossip rags since you leak stories to them all the time. It shows desperation. If you were any more thirsty, you'd be drinking water out of Harry's broken dog bowl. Thus, it throws guest speaker's words back at her and also jibes again. Not Bloody Likely joins in, stating, maybe guest speaker, the prolific poster who seems to know everything about this one's wife, has an explanation. Guest speaker responds, maybe you should try not being snide, nullification of threat to control. Guest Moonbump appears again. Trevor Engelson and Prince Harry's starter wife, insult, maybe you should try not crashing galas in inappropriate and ill-fitting dresses slit up to your hoo-ha. Again, challenge, fuel. The fuel provided is small in quantity, weak in potency, and infrequent, but the threat to control is there nevertheless. Guest speaker pops up again, this time smearing Catherine, as is often her wont. Don't get me started on Kate's wardrobe. William's starter wife had some embarrassing fashion mishaps. Criticism of Catherine. Guest Moonbump responds, Trevor Engelson and Prince Harry's starter wife, insult. You would sacrifice your non-existent children, insult, to be the Prince of Wales's bride. Catherine, Princess of Wales, knows how to dress appropriately. You dress like you're going to a benefit to raise money for Diddy's bail hearing. Insult. Not Bloody Likely pops up again. Everybody applauds the Moonbump name. It's accurate and hilarious. guest speaker responds to that because it's a threat to control. Only those who make up that twisted story about this one's wife. Guest Moonbump jumps in. Trevor Engelson and Prince Harry's starter wife. Insult. Your Markle militia and the troll leader Oh My Scabies made up that twisted story about Catherine and the King. Accordingly, what you have here is Guest Moonbump is very much a thorn in the side of guest speaker, suspected to be this one's wife. And each time he's needling her, causing her to have to respond, to lash out. And there's plenty more interactions of this nature. I'm just providing you with a snapshot of them. This one's wife, if she is writing as guest speaker, regularly brings up Catherine and William. The reason being is that she needs to assert control over them and does so indirectly. She can't do so directly. She doesn't spend time with them, she doesn't communicate with them, and therefore she has to assert control over them indirectly by smearing them. But it fails in this forum because she's met with resistance, particularly from guest Moonbump. She wants to be like Catherine and William. She wants their popularity. Indeed, her narcissism tells her that she's entitled to it. And thus, they repeatedly pop up on her radar, which means that her narcissism needs to direct her to assert control over them. And it does so by causing her to write in the terms that she does. Now, is this really something that this one's wife could be doing? Is she really guest speaker? Well, we don't know for certain. But it does raise a distinct possibility that someone like a mid-range narcissist, that this one's wife is, would go into a meltdown on the New York Post and keep posting in the way that she does. Why? Well, she's not a superior narcissist. She's not a greater. A greater wouldn't bother with this kind of shenanigans. They would possibly not even be aware of it, and if they were, they would just laugh about it and move on. They might, once in a while, comment in order to make an example of somebody, but for the most part, they would be busy about other matters and therefore wouldn't engage in any form of interaction. But with this one's wife, she's petty. That's part of her mid-range status. We also know she's got a lot of time on her hands. She doesn't have a proper job. It's not like she's making jam or actually designing a proper lifestyle brand. It's not like she's creating any content. It's not like she's even looking after the kids. To the extent that they exist, somebody else will be doing that. She has plenty of time to engage in the rage scrolling, plenty of time to be dipping in and out of what the tabloids are saying about her, what people are putting in videos, and so on and so forth. And we have seen numerous instances whereby she's been criticised for a particular thing, and a day or two later we see the clapback article through one of the supine publications where she seeks to nullify the threat to control. It gets to her. It gets to her. It gets under her skin. It infuriates her. And because she isn't that superior, evolved narcissist that can just laugh it off and move on to something more important, like the mean girl that she is, she's moved to try and respond through clapback articles. And here, although there is no direct evidence that guest speaker is this one's wife, the frequency by which she appears here, the support that she gives for herself, and the manner in which she regularly has a meltdown because of the comments would be indicative of it actually being her. And we know she's got the time and the pettiness and the inclination to go below the line. And therefore, there's plenty of evidence to support that it may well be her. And we see another example of two of the commenters in particular having her number and looking to needle her and indeed succeeding. The petty nature of the thin-skinned this one's wife laid bare below the line on the New York Post. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.